It occurred to me only a short while ago this morning, while going through to the Department of Work and Pensions, the DLA helpline. There must be more, I thought, to The Rite of Spring by Stravinsky. There must be parts that they don't play while you're waiting on the line. Everyone knows bum 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 bum. As a recent caller, I've got very used to that. But just a quick one before YouTube do me for copyright, and I'm going to say intellectual property, fair use, mere quoting from, and all that lot. This in the background is also a theme from Stravinsky's The Rite of Spring. I don't know if you can hear it from there. There it is. It's on my computer and it's playing away. Also from The Rite of Spring, which I bet you don't hear from the DWP. Anyway, that much said, let me get rid of this from my screen. Okay, it's gone. I'm back, and it's progress time. Well, for once, not a standard rant against the DWP, but one or two things that still fascinate me as we're pursuing the what turns out now to be the change in who deals with my wife Sharon's affairs. I'd like to get this one documented on video because it's absolutely brilliant. Let's say no names, no pack drill, okay? Because the DWP have been a little bit better than I'd expected recently, so we'll do no names, no pack drill on this one, okay? So, in July, when, again, my wife was seriously mentally ill, and she's still mentally ill at the moment, I think it was the investigations section or whatever came and investigated us on a home visit. Now, they sent a person who we will call X. X completed a form BF14, left me with a copy of it, took the rest away with her. Bear in mind, this was back in July. At the same time, once again, back in July, I put through a mandatory reconsideration for the presumed overpayment. Just to bring you up to date, only recently have we been told that we have to pay that back, even though the mandatory reconsideration hadn't gone through. But also, the BF14, bearing in mind it was July, should have gone through, and it should have had me entitled to deal with my wife's affairs. Financially, in all respects, being her representative, if you like. I consider myself her carer. Well, the latest up-to-date news is that the mandatory reconsideration has not actually been fully turned down. Now, this I like. They may, give them their due, they may, according to what they've now just sent me, said that they made a possible mistake in the calculation of the amounts owed, and it has to go back again to the decision maker. Okay, maybe that's a good thing. I don't know, but let them reconsider. And along with that as well, they're not sure, therefore, whether I owe them the £50 penalty or not, so that's got to go back as well. Yep. But bearing in mind, this happened in July. Well, obviously, the paperwork they've got hold of is my repeat paperwork that I sent to good old Basildon Benefit Centre again in December. Let's just not beat about the bush with this. What is their system? What is it other than crap? Who are they paying on 0 hours contracts to scan all that mail through? Scan, 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 scan. Well, it obviously went through a lot quicker in December when I sent the second repeat paperwork than it went through in July when I sent the first lot. Perhaps they've been whipping the scanners harder. Scan quicker, scan quicker, scan quicker. We've got a huge pile of mail. Scan quicker, scan quicker. Stop that person's rations. They're not scanning fast enough. So you see my point. Yep, the system's crap. Why is the system crap? The system's crap because it's probably all been farmed out to some in-house little private finance initiative company, and there's probably some billionaire at the top going, money, 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 must be funny, it's a rich man's world. And he's looking at all his workers going, scan, 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 answer the phone, answer the phone, answer the phone, answer the phone. Yeah. And he's looking at all of them, and his lovely, 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 lovely big bank account in the Cayman Islands is going, kapow, kapow, kapow. So I figure he's whoever runs this private company that I've been talking to, well, not listening to Vivaldi. I'm sorry, it was Stravinsky. I have to apologise, it was Stravinsky I was listening to. I thought it were Vivaldi, but it were bloody Stravinsky, honestly. Stravinsky, right of spring. Hey, right as my screen saver changes as well. Anyway, there's some news. Yep. Next bit that was really quite funny. Financially, although they still had my wife's payment details, and nothing at all had changed. Indeed, they were supposed to, although I will be her agent dealing on her behalf, they were still supposed to carry on paying the money into my account. Which, strangely enough, I told X when all this was supposed to have begun in July. I said that to X, and X took it down on their little piece of paperwork. I think it was the one that was with the BF14, and X crossed all that off, yeah. Just let me say one thing about X. They work on like the investigations team in Great Yarmouth. I'm not going to give a name because I'm being nice to the DWP now, but X works on their investigations team. So very possibly X cocked up somewhere along the way. Or maybe X didn't send stuff that X should have sent, or maybe stuff that X sent got lost, or well, I don't know, it just didn't get there. But the upshot of all this was, they're still supposed to be carrying on paying into my wife's bank account. No. Way too complicated. This morning's payment that we're expecting, DLA-wise, guess what? You've got it in one. It didn't come. Yep. Now, experience talking to DWP representatives today. Reasonably good. The last couple I spoke to that were on callbacks were actually quite good. You know, maybe not within the 3 hours they promised, but not far outside. Seemed to get what was going on, and hopefully we've resolved it so that payment will now come. My next one I think is probably going to happen is immediately the ESA one comes up and the carers allowance one comes up. I have a feeling I'm just going to be going through that for each of these in turn. But come what may, right? Frontline staff that I seem to get onto in what must be just some massive call centre somewhere. I mean, don't tell me about call centres, mate. I have done my time on the phone. Now I've done my time in the kitchen at parties. Yeah, I've done my time in the kitchen at parties. Well, I've done my time on the old dog and bone in the hen house. Over 10 years in the hen house for Hot Point. This this one, going like industrially mutton Jeff in that ear from wah, 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 down the phone at me. So, you know, don't think I'm not used to working in a hen house, as we call them, because we're all sort of just queued up like boxed hens and fed grain and watered every now and again. So the first one this morning, bit naff, really. I don't know if it's just me, yeah? I mean, perhaps we got off to a misunderstanding. Perhaps my tone of voice was not exactly brilliant. Okay, if it wasn't, I'm sorry, DWP. But I sensed a kind of patronising tone to them, and there's Sharon sitting next to me going, "Look, don't wind them up, they'll only put you to the back of the queue," and everything. All good advice, perfectly good advice. Seriously, if it had been me working in customer services, I'd have said the same thing. I don't think I was that bad, but didn't like them very much at all. Really had a kind of, okay, I know it's only a job, and I know you answer hundreds of phone calls a day. I was in a job too where I was answering over 150 calls on a shift. So please don't give me that. I've done it as well. And a lot of them, as I say, were yeah. I've done over 150 calls a shift, so don't give me that. Yeah. Okay, maybe they're a bit pissed off by the job. Yeah. Maybe it's not the world's most exciting job to do. Maybe they do get shouted at. Maybe that happens, right? But that's part of doing this job. And I wasn't abusive, and I wasn't nasty. Actually, I didn't shout. I just wanted something doing. I was firm. Perhaps I was a little too firm. I don't know. Yep. But let me just conclude really by saying one thing. If I had been a person who was very, I don't know, almost backward, or backward in coming forward, or how could I put this? Somebody who was very, I don't know, shy, somebody who couldn't speak for themselves, somebody who didn't understand what was going on. I'll tell you something about the DWP system. I would initially have been put off even pushing the call, because the system, I believe, is deliberately complicated. Yet I don't very often deal with it. I haven't needed to deal with it on the telephone. Thank God for that. Okay, we've got some 0800 telephone numbers now. Labour have managed to achieve something, because believe you me, that didn't come through the Tories. No, that came through Jeremy Corbyn. That's us. We achieved that. Those 0800 numbers that I have been using, we achieved that. Bugger all to do with the Tory party, right? We did it. So, but otherwise, if I was just Joe Soap or Joanna Soap or whatever, I'd be put off. Press this, press that. Right of spring, more press this, more press that. Take this number down, take that number down. Write the other number down. If you have an inquiry regarding such and such, and you have to say you can be dealt with on the web. Yeah, your inquiry can be dealt with on www. And what I thought was really funny, and I know this because call centre people get bits that have to be slipped into every call. Yeah. The two advisors that I spoke to this morning actually slipped into the call that I could also deal with the Department of Work and Pensions on web address, www. And what was so funny was I knew that had been, whoever was in charge of them had told them all, just drop this one in as well, yeah? And I can imagine them getting their calls rated like we used to get them rated. And it'll be like, if you didn't drop that one in, disciplinary. You could be up for a disciplinary. Not performing to standards. So, think about it, right? The point is, yes, the system's deliberately difficult to deal with. The appeals system, even the mandatory consideration system, it's deliberately difficult to deal with. It's there to make ill people in particular, disabled people in particular, it's there to make you give up, yeah? Because they know a percentage of people will just be so ill, so depressed, so downhearted, so physically sick, they can't deal with it. They'll just fall off the end, they'll give up. They won't get what they're legally entitled to, and they won't want to push to get it, yeah, and they won't get people helping them and agitating for them and acting on their behalf, because believe you me, unless you've got a social worker doing this CAB and all the other agencies are completely and utterly and totally and fully overwhelmed, yeah, they're overwhelmed. It's a cruel system. It's set up to be cruel. I've said something positive about some of the advisors at the DWP I've dealt with today. I feel it only fair to include that in this video blog, that I do have some positive comments about them. But other than that, I'll keep you up to date with what's going on, because I don't think that's been my last time listening to Stravinsky. Not Vivaldi. Just think. Stravinsky. I guess even I've learnt something today. Bye bye.